Chinese civilization. It is very interesting to know that civilization has developed only in those parts of the world where it was impossible for men to live without a great struggle and yet not too easy. If natural conditions make life too easy, men become lazy. And if life becomes too difficult, man will not have strength or leisure to develop civilization. The conditions of moderate difficulties are favorable for men to develop intelligence and improve civilization. So here let's begin the point. The river plains of Huanghe in northern China and Yangtze and Sikiang in southern China provided moderate challenges and minimum facilities to develop a civilization. In the beginning, Chinese had tribal society, so there is a social groups like elsewhere in the world, like Angloid, Mongolians, some sort of tribals was there in the beginning. It gradually developed into feudal system. Feudal system in the sense the society comes topmost king, next comes loyalty, next comes protector, military group, up last comes agriculturist or farmlands. So it tells that in the beginning Chinese had a tribal society like else in the world. Later it gradually developed into feudal society. In the context of above discussion, there prevailed such similar condition in India and China during the period of development of civilization. China is the oldest civilization which continues till today. Chinese developed a unique civilization by 5000 BCE. Not much is known about the remote past, in the sense not much is known about the unconnected past. We have fairly clear history from about 1500 BCE. It was appeared that it developed in isolation or setting apart to large extent. Chinese are always proud of their civilization. Chinese inventions and philosophy influence human life in several ways. China is a country of variety physical features. It lies between Himalaya in the west, Pacific in the east, and desert in the north. It has a variety of flora, means plant and fauna, animals. That means it has a variety of flora and fauna. China is inhabited or living by Mongoloid race. Political condition. Early China was ruled by many kings. In the beginning, they had loose federation. That means a group of states with central government but independent in internal affairs. That means in the beginning, it tells that here in political condition, in the beginning, this Chinese had loose federation. In the later stages, they had centralized administration. China has a long-standing political history. The mythological sources, you can be told as a folk or tale sources, date political history of China to as early as 4000 years. More than 15 dynasties have ruled China from 2100 BCE to 1911 CE. But we have substantial or notable sources from 1500 BCE. Dynasties that ruled China. Dynasties of ancient era. Number 1. Xia Dynasty 2100 to 1600 BCE. 2. Shang Dynasty 1600 to 1046 BCE. Zhou Dynasty 1045 to 256 BCE. Number 2. Dynasties of imperial era. Number 4. It constitutes Qin Dynasty 221 to 206 BCE. Han Dynasty means 206 to 220 CE. Next comes Three Kingdoms 220 to 280 CE, that is Wei, Shu, Wu. These were three kingdoms. After that comes Jin Dynasty 265 to 426. Next, Southern and Northern Dynasty 420 to 589 CE, Sui Dynasty 581 to 618 CE, Tang Dynasty 618 to 907 CE, Age of 10 Kingdom 907 to 960 CE, Song Dynasty 960 to 1279 CE, Yuan dynasty 1271 to 1368 CE, Ming dynasty 1368 to 1644 CE, Manchu or Qing dynasty, that is 1644 to 1911 CE. Xia was the earliest dynasty which came into existence in around 2100 BCE, and the last was Qing or Manchu dynasty, as you have seen the picture, which ended in 1911 CE. The political history of China is classified into two eras, that is ancient era that starts from 2100 to 221 BCE and empire era 221 BCE to 1911 CE. So let's move to the explanation. Zhou or Zhou dynasty was the longest serving dynasty. So remember this name. The rulers of this dynasty, in the sense this Zhou dynasty, evolved the theory of mandate of heaven. That means what? The theory states that the idea that there could be one legitimate ruler of China at time, that this ruler had the blessing of God. So it tells that the rulers of this dynasty or Zhou dynasty evolved the theory of mandate of heaven, divine origin to legitimize their rule. 3rd and 4th BCE witnessed the rise of feudal lords who constantly engaged in war. So this feudal lord first begins with kings, next comes these loyals, third comes their protector in the sense military, fourth comes agriculturist or farmlands. So 3rd and 4th BCE witnessed the rise of feudal lands who constantly engaged in wars. Wars in the sense who comes the third part, this protector or military engaged in wars. They were suppressed or defeated, who? These feudal lords, by the Qing dynasty. So what does it tell? That in the beginning the Zhou dynasty became the serving and topmost dynasty. Next comes after 3rd or 4th BCE there is a feudal lord. Next, after passing a year, because these feudal lords, they were engaged in war. Due to this, a kingdom came into existence, means Qing dynasty came into existence. So there was a war between these feudal lords and Qing dynasty. So these feudal lords were suppressed or defeated by Qing dynasty, and the Qing dynasty re-established the dynastic rule. Later, Qing rulers expanded their kingdom into an empire. Thus began the imperial era. Next, Shi Huangdi, the greatest ruler of China, belonged to this dynasty, in the sense Qing dynasty. Shi means first, Huangdi means emperor. He ruled, in the sense Shi Huangdi ruled from Qin provinces, and he adopted the name Qin Shi Huangdi. The name China comes from Qin. I hope it's clear to you. Next, Shi Huangdi started official census and maintained peace and prosperity. He started the construction of Great Wall of China to protect the kingdom from the attacks of Huns and Mongols. So a question comes, who constructed Great Wall of China? Shi Huangdi. Why? To protect his kingdom from the attacks of Huns and Mongols. So they were the tribals. So he, in the sense is Shi Huangdi, for the first time brought the whole China under the single rule. He introduced uniform laws throughout the country. He divided the country into 36 provinces, appointed civil and military officers to each province. He traveled in disguise, means what? He traveled, or he just hid his appearance. He gave a different appearance in order to conceal one's identity. So this Shi Huangdi traveled in disguise to understand the ills and disorders of the empire. They constructed roads and canals to connect far-flung or far further parts of the empire. Shi Huangdi believed that people are basically indisciplined, so he introduced strict laws and harsh punishment. The emperor was for change and against the old order. He tried to control the knowledge by burning books. He patronized or supported scientists but opposed historians. Many scholars who opposed him were buried alive in the Great Wall of China. Next comes Han Dynasty. The dynasty of Shi Huangdi is Qing Dynasty. Now we are going to learn about Han Dynasty. Han Dynasty replaced Qing Dynasty. Wu Ti was a famous ruler of this dynasty. So, who is the ruler of Han Dynasty? The name is Wu Ti. So, this Wu Ti divided the empire into 13 provinces, so he centralized the administration. He was a great patron, or you can tell he was a great boss of art and literature. During his reign, thousands of great works on prose, poetry, philosophy, mathematics, and medicine were composed. So this period is known as the Golden Age of Chinese history. So this Han dynasty later was replaced by Wei Jin dynasty. The ruler decentralized the power, means because this during the time of Shi Huangdi, that's in Qing dynasty, and Han dynasty Wu Ti. During that period there was centralized administration, so king is the head of the country, whereas this Wei Jin dynasty, the rulers decentralized power in the sense they transfer authority from central to local. So he tells that Han dynasty, the dynasty of Wu Ti, was replaced by Wei Jin dynasty, and the Wei Jin dynasty's ruler decentralized the power. Later there was political fragmentation or breakup of China for about 400 years. Next comes Sui dynasty re-established the empire. Tang dynasty followed Suis and introduced, means Tang dynasty followed Sui dynasty and introduced a system of standard coinage or coin collection. They brought reforms in administration. The governmental machinery was divided into 3 parts. The first part is draft, the second one is to review, and third one is, or the last one is to implement or pass the policies. The competitive examination were conducted for recruiting officers. As in India, we have IAS and IPS exam. Likewise, in China, there was a competitive examination were conducted for recruiting officials. This period is also known as the Golden Age of Chinese history, as there was significant development in the field of art, literature, and technology.